りがとうございます。ちょっと話題を変えて、日本ではU 理論の方もすごく読まれていて、U ラボの、コミュニティもあったりするんですね。で、U 理論は、まあ、社会変革とか、まあ、リーダーシップとか、まあ、人の支援とかでも、使えるモデルだとは思うんですけれども、そのジェフさんたちが、この発達の、GTC プログラムで、U 理論を着目している理由についても教えていただけますか？何か、他とは違うところがあるんでしょうか？
Yes, yes. Thank you. It's a really great question. And yeah, this is there's several lines of like research and development we've worked with within GTC. And, one of the big ones is adult developmental theory. That's been a big, important piece of what we do. Collective intelligence and collective evolution is a big piece of what we do. And we've done research and writing around that. The evolution of I and we and that we've been talking about, and theory U is what I would say transformative change. This is in the name of the program, transformative change, which is in a way what theory U points to has been an important piece of what we do, and we've engaged with that work in our own application, our own development of it. Not somewhat evolving the practices that Otto Scharmer has developed, but particularly evolving the theory and developing our own practices of it and our own theories about applying it. So that's been a deep piece of work in GTC and in the development of the program and development of our work. And also in our research and writing, we've written several papers and book chapters for books on presencing and theory U application, which I'm happy to make available to you if you don't have access to them. In fact, one of the we did a book chapter called an interpenetrative application of theory U. So, and we have a definition of interpenetration in it. So, having said all that, where I want to start this question or this conversation is to invite us to see theory U as a kind of universal pattern. So in theory U, Otto talks about moving from open mind to open heart to open will, and then back up the U. This is kind of moving. We can see this as moving through subtler and subtler territories. So one way is to look at it as to seeing things, seeing the concrete world objectively, to seeing it from the inside out, from the meaning that we make of it, to seeing ourselves as part of it, to seeing ourselves, to perceiving it more holistically, to at the open will stage, to letting go into a deeper willingness and trust that allows transpersonal intuitions to come. So this is a kind of movement through like territories of depth, you could say. So, and those territories of depth have been written about for thousands of years. So this isn't just some new thing, right? It's something that Otto Scharmer and others have kind of crafted into a unique expression of it, but it's a kind of universal truth. Similarly, as we move down the U, we're moving into greater territory of complexity. So when I talked about moving through the polarity from one or the other to both and to interpenetrating to a kind of unity, I was taking us down the U. And when it starts to get complex, and I'm like the I's inside of the we and the we's inside of the I, it becomes really complex, and we can no longer like use so much of our rational discursive mind to figure that out. And what we end up doing at that point, you could say, eventually we just say, oh, I can't figure that out. And we let go into emptiness. And then something comes out of that. That's presencing. So it's also a kind of movement through complexity. So what I'm pointing to here is that we see you as a kind of almost like an archetype, the theory you. It's not just a specific practice of social change, but it's a kind of archetype for transformative change. And it reveals different things about as we move through transformative change. There's different perspectives and different lenses and different orientations that it really, in a very elegant and clear way, highlights. And so we use that archetype as a kind of framework for our own practices, but also as a way to start to see, the rhythms of transformative change, even if we're not thinking about it as a practice or as a theory, to see the very natural kinds of movement that happen within us already when we're going through transformative change. I think I'll just start with that and to see if you have a follow-on question or comment.
ありがとうございます。特に私はそのアーキタイプって表現にすごくしっくりくるなと思いました。なぜなら、有理論がすべてのその変化のモデルを表しているんではないからだなと。ただ、有理論が表現しているものっていうのは何か本当にそういうものもあるなと。ただ全部じゃないので、アーキタイプ、つまり一つのタイプなんだと変化のっていうふうに理解する。だから私たちは他にもいろんな変化を知っているし体験しているけれども、そういうタイプをいろいろ見せていく必要があるんだなと。なので、例えばそのインテグレーションするっていうのも一つの変化だと思いますし、言うみたいにそうやってエンプティネスになるっていうことによって出現するものも、イマージェンスするものもあるっていうことで、いろんなアーキタイプを知っていかないと、有理論だけでなんか変化を起こそうとしても、ある意味不自然になってしまうのかなと思いました。
Yes, well, you could say within the model, there's, at the very top of the U is downloading, just acting out of habit. Most of the world operates on habit, 23 hours and 59 minutes out of a day, like habit. And that creates a certain kind of change. It seems to work for a lot of things. And then if you go down a little bit, you go to open mind, you become reflective and you think like, oh, let me see what's going on here. I noticed this habit. Is there a better place? Is there a better way to operate? And then you change the habit. You've just gone down an open mind and back up. It's a good form of change. You can process redesign. It's a good change. You don't have to go. You don't want to or need to go into the bottom of you all the time. And then you can open heart and you can do what's sometimes called transformative change, which is kind of reframing and shifting the meaning making or shifting the way that we see the issue or the problem or the vision. And that can create a whole kind of change, which is beautiful. And then when you drop into the bottom of the U, you're presencing, which is a kind of, you might think of chaotic change. It's not complex, it's chaotic, it's nonlinear. We could say it comes out of that empty ground of being. Now, but if we step back from that and just say, this is just a model. So it's just like I put the theory U glasses on. Like, oh, everything looks like a U when I put those glasses on. Okay. There's open mind, open heart, open will. But it's a lens that we look at the world through. And when we take that off, I don't see any use. It looks different. There's different kinds of change. So all of these models that we're working with are perspective taking. They're kind of constructs that allow us to see something. And it's a powerful tool. But as you said, there's many different kinds of change. This is a endless mystery that we're operating in. And when we draw little squares and circles on a piece of paper, it makes it seem simpler. But there's more to the world than our theories about it. So it's really good to keep that in mind too.